So a little bird told me that your brother, or is it your brother-in-law, who's
My
also,
brother-in-law, yeah.
we'll give him a shout out. We'll give him a shout out, right? What's the name of the company?
Andrew Allen Media.
Right. And they do photo and video or just
Yeah.
video?
Photo
Yeah.
and video.
Photo and video, right? So they recently booked, I mean, all clients are special, but this one particularly so. Tell us why this particular client that he recently booked was special.
So this client's getting married in July
This
and
year?
yes, so 2 months from now.
What?
One of the well, it's a last minute booking for a reason. Is one of the victims of the recent Jersey photographer that's kind of scammed a bunch of people and
Well,
has
there's two right
disappeared.
now. There are two Jersey
Two,
photographers.
well, the most recent within the past couple of weeks or so.
Well, they're kind of concurrent with one another.
The mess. Yes.
Yeah,
By the way, New
there's
Jersey, they don't speak for New Jersey photographers. We're a really nice bunch of people, I promise.
there's
You know, these two are
there's
just,
also like a difference between the two. Like one did it intentionally, right? One was on the news and just refuses to give people their products. The other one filed bankruptcy and kept everybody's money and closed shop and said basically you figure it out.
I'm
I'm
not
not
going to fulfill
my
my
contracts.
contract.
Yeah.
all right. Well, if those two are the ones that you're thinking of, there's three then. There are three concurrent issues happening right now. There's another one who recently split off from a team.
Okay. Yeah, I know which situation you're talking
Hmm.
about, but go ahead.
Yeah. And she's also not delivering stuff. She's not fulfilling her obligations, and she's already been paid, and she's not delivering the product. Right?
Mm-hmm.
She was hired to associate shoot and things like that, and she's not. So anyway, legal stuff aside, and we'll talk about the legal stuff in just a little bit, right? But just from a business ownership type of conduct that you're supposed to be like following a code of, even though
Code of
it's,
ethics.
yeah, there's a code of ethics, even though it's a little informal. We don't actually have one, technically speaking. Although if you join any of these organizations, they do expect that you follow a certain code of ethics.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
just any mom and pop wedding vendor, right? Normally we follow a certain code of ethics. It's kind of agreed upon that, people pay you for a service. You should provide those services in a timely and
Mm-hmm.
efficient manner, in a professional manner. You're not just screwing around. You're not screwing people over. Really, that's it,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we got three. We got three in New Jersey. Actually, that first one, is she in PA or is she in Jersey? I think she's in PA.
South Jersey, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
like area, like Philly, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's why we have our special guest today. to kind of maybe shed light on all these things, maybe provide us with a little clarity. I mean, we have our own opinions as
Yeah.
to how we feel about what these folks are doing, but maybe just because what we feel is right or the right thing to do isn't necessarily always the legal answer or what is considered legally correct, right? So anyway, without further ado, are you guys ready to get this podcast started?
Yeah. Let's
I'm
do it.
ready. It's been a while.
All right. Yeah, it's been a while. All right. Welcome to the Focus AF podcast. My name is Ben,
Oh, no, Karis. This is Jen.
And this is Ro.
and we are sort of focused AF today. Well, Ro is not because we got game 4 tonight.
Yes.
And he's already got his Knicks jersey on. I was gonna buy a Knicks jersey for my wife yesterday, so I went to Woodbury Commons and I was like, ooh, number 30. I was like, Randall. Like Randall's hasn't played in a little while, right? And it was 120. It was $120. I was like,
What? No.
I am not paying $120 for a player who's not even playing for us right now. That's
For your
ridiculous.
wife who
Yeah.
does not even care.
Well, she wouldn't even care, right? It's just a Knicks jersey, but $120 for that, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. So, in any case, so why don't you guys tell us about our guest today? How did you guys come across each other? Tell me
So I'm
all that.
probably the only one that knows Leah. And like we've never officially met or anything, but
Hmm.
I remember finding Leah a long time ago when she was a wedding planner.
Hmm.
And I can't remember if it was on a knot or something. And her brand was a lot of color. So like immediately just popped out. I mean, that was the name of the business, Color Pop. So it was like just color everywhere. And I was like, oh, she's cool. She's not your traditional formal wedding planner. It's all about breaking traditions, very unique, colorful. So I just started following her on Instagram, and I don't know where else. Maybe I've seen her speak at not event. I can't remember. And then I don't think it was until recently that I realized she was like rebranded and like now back to being a lawyer. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. So that's why I was like, she would be the perfect person to talk to because she has a more unique perspective from being on both sides of the field. So,
So without further ado, we want to welcome Leah Weinberg to the podcast. Welcome, Leah.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Excited to be here.
thank you so much.
I have a huge dossier on you, things that we could talk about. But let's talk about let's talk about the issue that.
Let her start with her background, transition, and then I know you really want to get into the juice and the meat of like the Jersey stuff, but people have to meet Leah first.
I gotta have my spice, you know. Go ahead, Leah.
Okay,
tell us.
We could do this super fast.
Go ahead.
Yes. I started I started my adult life as an attorney. So
She came out of the womb, just like writing contracts.
As an attorney, ready to go. So life started my first career as a commercial real estate attorney. Hated every second of that. Wanted to start my own business of some kind, and for years tried to figure out what that was going to be, and eventually decided on wedding and event planning. So 2013, I launched ColourPop Events here in New York City. Did that for close to a decade. And then COVID happened and the landscape changed greatly. And I didn't want to do weddings anymore. And luckily had a legal career that I could fall back on. So I had my last wedding October of 2022 and went back to practicing law at the beginning of 2023. And this year launched my own firm called Weinberg Legal.
Talk to us about how like you went from commercial real estate and then you chose weddings.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, I was brainstorming all sorts of businesses. Thought about opening up a doggy daycare, doing a dog walking service. I like to say I came dangerously close to enrolling in pastry school because I thought I wanted to open up a bakery. Fortunately, I have a friend who's a chef who saved me from what would have been an absolutely colossal mistake by doing that. And just event planning kind of popped into my head one day, and I was like, oh, this is a really good fit for my strengths and what I've learned as a lawyer in terms of like managing multiple projects, troubleshooting, problem solving, staying calm under pressure, dealing with difficult people. And so I think not many people, until I talk about it, not many people realize how transferable the skills are from lawyer to wedding planner. But it was a really good fit for all the things that I was really good at. So that's where we landed.
I think that definitely makes a lot of sense. Like that dealing with people is like probably the biggest, and like having to deal with different personalities. And in a sense, as a wedding planner, you're negotiating with talking to people and kind of like have that dialogue with them, which I guess would transfer over to being a lawyer. So
yeah. And just like I would think, okay, what is the worst thing that could happen on this wedding? Like, what are all the things that could go wrong on this wedding day? I now think, what are all the things that could go wrong in my client's business? And how do we put that into a contract to try to prevent it from the beginning?
The COVID transition, I know COVID was probably the biggest reason, but like, what was the deciding factor to be like, okay, this is where I want to step away from this?
The people part got really hard. I mean, I had hoped, and me and my friends had talked about this, we hoped that people would come out of COVID like really understanding and really nice and patient after all that everybody had just been through. And no, that's not what was happening. And so it was like people not being particularly understanding, on top of, as a planner, all the vendors and venues we were working with were short-staffed, or there was turnover, things were getting expensive, and all of that just flows uphill to the planner at the end of the day. Like, it's our fault that the venue had 5 different salespeople, like event managers, working with you over the course of planning your wedding. Like, I can't do anything about that. Your florist isn't getting back to you because they've got like 30 weddings happening this year. I can't respond to the florist emails for you, but you're going to get like snippy with me because you're upset about it. And it just like that people part became too much to deal with anymore.
Yeah, you become like the punching bag.
It's also 100%. the one field in our industry where, like, for us, we were just postponing weddings, right? We were just, all right, we're free, let's move this date to the next one. We haven't actually physically worked.
Yeah.
But as a planner, you did all the work prior and leading up to the wedding, and now they're rescheduling. You have to do all that work again.
And I have to keep
And
emailing you for another 12 months, and that's really
yeah,
annoying.
it was. And then some people change their dates 3, 4 times.
Oh
And
yeah, one of my favorite stories to tell is a couple that booked me in 2019 and they just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and when we had a call and they said they wanted to push to 2023, I had to be like, I can't do that. I'm just going to give you all your money back and we're going to part ways.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
that's crazy.
And I'm sure it was
4
like
years.
I'm
4
sure like
years of planning with somebody is what they
Yeah.
wanted.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
for like the one regular like price that they charge you, I'm sure you
Of
just
course.
had to
Oh, of course.
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's out of all the vendors, I feel like you guys had it the worst.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was tough.
Yeah, a lot of crazies came out during COVID. We had a lot of like, this is not normal behavior, people. Like it's like how are you going to pull trigger on a new date without consulting with all of your vendors? You're just going to call me up, hey, listen, Ben, I just rebooked our date. Can you make it? And then if I'm not available, it's somehow my fault.
Yeah, correct.
So I mean, there's a silver lining to all of this. I mean, if it weren't for that, then Karis wouldn't be where she is, with her own brand and whatnot. It kind of accelerated that process. So there was a silver lining to all of that, but still, a lot of misbehavior and misconduct. And it's not just the client side too. A lot of photographers, a lot of vendors misbehaving during COVID too, taking advantage, price gouging and things like that. I saw second shooters send their rates up through the roof for like over $1,000. Is it 1,000? Is that $100? Yeah, over $100 an hour to second shoot. I don't know, Leah, if you're familiar with like the market rates for.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not normal. They're just gouging because there just wasn't there wasn't an inventory of shooters available, right?
Right.
So now they got to do the walk of shame and bring their prices back down. But and they're like, well, so and so used to pay me this much. I was like, well, that was also like 4 years ago when there weren't enough shooters and stuff. That's not nice.
Yeah, it was a crazy time.
was a crazy
But I'm
time.
sure during that time in your transition back to being a lawyer, you kind of had to, or not have to learn, but you kind of had so many experiences to see like how that would pass over to now going back to your law career as a small business lawyer. So
Yeah, I mean, I've seen as a wedding planner, I saw everybody's contracts. Like every vendor, I saw every contract. I worked with every vendor type. I know their businesses, I know their pain points, I know their challenges. And so that gives me just such a unique, like you said, a unique perspective now that I'm representing wedding and event professionals and helping them draft those contracts and navigate client disputes. I understand their business is so much more than just another small business attorney might.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. So I have a question for you, right? You've gone through so many contracts. Why you guys look so fearful? Why you guys look so afraid?
he said he had spicy questions for you, so I'm just like a little concerned, but it's all right.
So Leah, you've gone through so many contracts, in your work. What would you consider, or what have you seen have been some red flags in the contracts that would make you kind of hesitate a little bit, do a second look? It's like, did they really put that in the contract? Like, what are some things that you've seen?
The big one that comes to mind is a free termination rate. So
I'm sorry?
A free termination rate.
Free termination. Okay, go ahead.
So like the vendor is able to terminate the contract for any reason, and if they do, they just have to give the money back, or the client is able to terminate for any reason, and if they do, they're just forfeiting a certain amount of money, as opposed to only being able to terminate for some kind of default, or if the event itself is canceled.
What if? All right, so back to this is a callback to what you shared with us earlier, right? Let's say, God willing, we're not going to see ourselves in another pandemic, right? But let's say you're dealing with a particularly difficult client, and you know that at the end of this, you've done this long enough, you've done this with enough clients, you know that this is probably not going to bode well for you after the products and services have been delivered. So you just want to cut your losses right now, right? So the clause that you just described would have allowed them to, hey, listen, here's all your money back. Let's just go our separate ways, right? If I'm interpreting that properly.
Yep.
So you're saying that that's no good.
Would you ever sign a contract that said that?
If the client,
Would you ever sign, like, if you were, so let's say you
as long as I get my
were,
money back, if I get my money back as the customer, you know,
yeah, but if
you
you're
kind of leave
planning
me.
a what, like your photographer could terminate the week of the wedding.
Wedding, yeah. I guess there
Mm.
would have to be some kind of.
So there are ways to still deal with this in
Hmm.
a more like in just a more fair way. I'm a very big like fairness person, and so I'm
Hmm.
not out here like, yes, vendor contracts will always be more favorable to the vendors, but I'm
Hmm.
not looking to like stick it to the client, to the
Right.
couples.
Hmm.
So what you can do very easily, I have this, I usually use it mostly for my planners because they have the more sort of like long-standing relationship, whereas most people, like, you're not interacting with them on a daily basis, and so how is it, you don't really have the opportunity to know this person's going to be a problem. But so I
Hmm.
have a working relationship provision that says if the planner or the vendor feels like the working relationships become unproductive, incompatible, you will, number one, have a conversation to try to resolve things. If you don't course correct after that conversation and things just still aren't working, then the vendor has the right to terminate and only gets paid for services rendered up to that point. That's why it makes more sense in like a planner context. I think part of it is people, vendors, we always kind of know, right? Like those clients that end up being the problem, there were red flags during the booking process most
Yes.
of the
Oh yeah.
time.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's partly on us to like weed those people out
Screen, so
before
screen those,
we're
yeah,
doing
screen
it.
those
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
But like I think of it from my so when I was a planner and I had a couple, like let's say their venue had a their venue contract had a free termination right. There is nothing in that contract that prevents the venue from week of the wedding saying we're no longer hosting your wedding, here's all of your money back. Like I
Wow.
would how could you ever sign something
Yeah.
like that in that context? Like if you were planning an event, like let's say you were
Mm.
planning like a milestone birthday party or a milestone anniversary, and you got a contract from somebody that said, hey, I can terminate you at any point, all I have to do is give you the money back. Like that's a big risk that when you really
Mm.
think about it, I don't know that you would sign up for that either.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No. No.
So
No,
when you
that's
say
true.
services rendered, right, as a photographer, I mean, and this is the problem that we ran into as well during COVID. Obviously we didn't shoot the wedding yet, and they're
Yep.
trying to cancel the contracts. But the thing is, we've performed work in the form of timeline planning, all the emails. There is work performed. You know what I
Engagement
mean?
session in most cases.
Well, let's say the engagement session hasn't been completed yet, right? But we still, we spent time and effort and potentially even money. If we have like a studio manager to put your contract together and do your invoicing, the work was performed. Maybe
Yeah.
not actual photo taking, but work was performed. So we had some folks who were arguing, hey, listen, you didn't shoot our wedding, so we want all our money back. So
Right.
we're,
Well, there's a different, yeah. And I think we want to make it clear that there's a difference between a cancellation of the event, because if there's a cancellation of the event, you should always keep whatever money has been paid to date. And then if
Mhm.
Yeah.
the cancellation happens within a certain amount of time prior to the event, you should be collecting your balance also. The free termination is when they're just like, oh, I changed my mind and I don't want to work with you as a
Anymore.
photographer.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be able to do that. And you also, on the flip side, shouldn't be able to do that to them without cause. So, like, of
Mhm.
Mhm.
course, if they're breaching your like harassment or good behavior provision and they're being like really nasty, you should
Mhm.
be able to terminate. If they're not paying you, you should be able to terminate. If they're ghosting you, you should be able to terminate. But you shouldn't be able to terminate just because, like, oh, I don't want to. I got an invite to go on this really cool vacation with
Oh, no, 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 no,
somebody
no.
and I'm gonna like, oh, and I can get out of the contract. Like, you shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
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 I heard some people do that. What they'll do too is like, oh, I'm contracted for this wedding. One came along that's so much better at my dream venue.
Yeah.
The
And then
couple's gorgeous. I'm just gonna go grab some rando
Take my
photographer to
associate. Take my
associate do it
associate.
for me. They don't even have an associate. They'll just grab a rando and like be like, "You're gonna associate for this wedding for me," or they're trying to get out of it.
there's a
Don't get
big
me
New
angry,
York
man.
City.
We gotta go
I
party
don't.
later tonight. You're gonna get me so angry talking about associates. People like doing associate programs all wrong. Oh my god, boils
But
my
I don't
blood.
think the clients realize what you're talking about, because I know I haven't really thought of or have really looked at contracts. Like we do his 40th birthday, I didn't look for anything about like them being able to cancel on me like that. I don't think they realize that that's there.
Yep.
So, and I would want them to know as well, not just to be like, a sneaky vendor, but like I think it's fair for them too to be able to see that and understand where their rights are. So,
Yeah, I mean, as a whole, I want like couples to start reading their contracts and
Yeah, no
understanding
one
them.
reads it.
And like the fact that, and I also like to just tell for vendors out there, the fact that somebody provides comments to your contract is not an automatic red flag. We need to get out of that mindset. Like, think about it. If you put yourself in their position, if you were spending like 5 figures for a vendor on a photographer, for even like that, like 4 figures, you would want to read that contract. And if there was something in there that you felt like needed to be changed, you would make a comment on it. So like, it's not automatic. Yes, there will always be a certain level of comment or type of comment that is absolutely a red flag. And you should learn from that moment. But just the act of them providing comments to the contract, I want us to get away from like, that's a red flag, I never make changes to my contract kind of mentality.
Yes.
Oh my God. For the first, I think, 10 years of my career, I basically DIY'd my contract. I found whatever I could find on Google, tossed it together, and then I was photographing a lot of attorneys. So I think probably half of the attorneys in New York City has put in there a little bit of their
contract for you.
Yeah, they just like put their little bits of their flavor in there. So basically, I had a casserole of a contract by the end of 10 years. And then it wasn't until that 10-year mark when I actually needed to enforce the contract and stuff. And that's when I realized this thing is worthless. That's when I actually hired a lawyer. And you know what? It wasn't even that expensive. I should have done this from like, day one. But in any case, because there were so many hands that went through the contract over 10 years. You had a lot of things that they just conflicted with one another, and I was basically giving away the farm for free. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I love it. I give that same spiel when I talk about like people Frankensteining contracts together, and you just exactly prove my point. You're like, I had to conflicted. Everybody had different things in there. Yes, exactly. That is exactly why you shouldn't do that. While we're here, please don't use ChatGPT to draft your contract.
Oh my God!
Hey, listen, I predate ChatGPT, so my contract was from good old Googling, and I think there were several.
The newer people are doing it. I've seen it in groups. They're like, "Oh, just go to ChatGPT. I got my contract in 2 minutes."
No.
And
please.
you know what? My contracts came from different states too. I think most of it came from the state of Wisconsin, right? But I think I had some California stuff in there, and yeah, it was not good. So I was like, it makes sense. It looks good. So it went out
for the newer people. Leah,
Don't do
tell
that.
people why they should not use ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, number one, ChatGPT makes stuff up. ChatGPT can be wrong. ChatGPT doesn't understand your business. ChatGPT is not a lawyer. ChatGPT doesn't know what needs to be in there for like compliance with your state. Like there's just so many reasons. I've seen a ChatGPT contract, and it was 1 page and it was not great. So let's not take legal advice from ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Please.
You're killing Ro there. You're killing Rolano's dying over there. All right. So we just talked about red flags, right, with contracts. So let's kind of flip this a little bit, right? So you've seen so many contracts. What do you wish that you saw more of in the contracts? What are some clauses that you can just snap your finger and it magically appears in the contract for everyone that you work with?
Yeah, I want people to have better force majeure rescheduling and cancellation provisions. We all went through what we did in 2020 with COVID, and things are still happening, especially like weather is becoming so much more unpredictable that I think they really need to make sure those provisions are very clear, cover the game, like don't have any loopholes, don't leave anything to chance, don't leave anything open for question. Like they can be clear enough and specific enough that like we are covered in a rescheduling or cancellation.
So let's say a blizzard comes through New York City, right? And this has happened to us before. I mean, as a business owner, forget what the contract said. We don't even know what the contract said, right? But I still don't know what the contract says, right? But so we just rescheduled it. That was just the right thing to do, right?
Yeah.
They had, that's what we did, right? Not
Yeah.
because the contract told us to, but because we thought that was the right thing to do. So
Yep.
let's say a blizzard goes through town, and people just can't fly into town now. The guests can't fly into town on the week of the wedding. We know there's a blizzard coming in. What would be a fair way to handle this in the contract for that won't actually stick it to the vendor or stick it to
Yeah.
the couple?
Yeah, the preference is always going to be to find a date to reschedule to. So as opposed to just like flat out canceling, let's mutually agree on a new date so you can still have the wedding. I can still do the work that you have paid me for, and we can all still feel fulfilled in this relationship. So like pointing them to a rescheduling is the first option, is the way that I want that situation to work. And then if the rescheduling doesn't happen, if there is a cancellation, I think it is in the event of in the blizzard scenario, we have to remember that couples can purchase event cancellation insurance. And if they cancel their wedding because of a blizzard and they have event cancellation insurance, they will get all of their money back. You, as a vendor, if they cancel the wedding, cannot similarly insure yourself. And so if they canceled and decided not to reschedule, I think, especially that close to the wedding, you should still get paid in full.
Mm-hmm.
That is how I recommend that.
If they didn't get event insurance, that was
they
on
should
them.
still pay you in full. Yeah, that's on them. Yeah. Like they can do it. It's not like, for as much as they're spending on a wedding, the investment in event cancellation insurance is not that much, and it is a very.
It's like $100, I think. It wasn't not a couple $100. I don't know.
That's for the liability piece. The event cancellation is proportionate to how much you're spending. On the wedding itself. But like for a $100,000 wedding, it might be $700, $500.
Oh, I'll pay that any day.
Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, it's not too bad.
Exactly.
Grand scheme of things, that's not too bad. Yeah.
Does that cover if the couple separates?
No, it does not cover if they break up.
Okay.
But it covers illness. I think it covers death in the family. It can cover like military deployment. It covers the weather events type things. It doesn't cover COVID specifically anymore, but it covers a lot of the things that are outside of the couple's control. And then also, like, this may sound heartless, but it also too, at the end of the day, I think if your couple breaks up, why should you be financially responsible for their breakup in a way? Like, let's just. Yeah, you're the small business. You are the small business owner who has been reserving this date. You've been counting on this money. It's part of your cash flow. It's part of your budgeting. Like at a certain point, you should not get penalized for decisions that your clients make or things that happen to your clients.
Do you have a recommendation on time frame for that final payment? So our final payment is very close to the date. We do 2 weeks just because I kind of want to avoid like having a 60 day final payment and then 30 days in canceled. And then like, I like the closer time frame just for those kind of instances. So I do still have my money because it's unlikely that they'll cancel that close. And if they do, I'm not giving it back, because I think the concern is that like for most small businesses, you don't know how to go back and retrieve that money. Let's say if they cancel before they make the final payment and you try to be like, hey, well, you still owe me $5,000. And they're just not gonna pay.
Well, I mean, they should pay, and you can take them to small claims court.
Small claims, yeah,
and get them to pay. But like, I don't think because honestly, I want you collecting your final. If they cancel, within like call it like 3 months in some situations. If they cancel 3 months out, I still frankly think that you should get paid. So I will want you to try to chase down that final payment. So when your final payment happens, as long as it's not happening on the day of the wedding, as long as it's in advance, it doesn't matter really how far out you're collecting it, because I don't think you'll collect that final balance so far out that you would have it in the event of that shorter notice cancellation.
Leah, I have a story to share with you. I've actually had a cancellation on the morning of the wedding. We got a text from the bride, and she was like, "You know what? You guys don't need to show up today. There's no wedding. There's no wedding today." And so we texted right back. It's like, "What are you talking about? Like, there's no wedding?" She's like, "Oh, there'll be a wedding. I just won't be there." Right? And I was like, "What? What?" This is so anyway, so we called the caterer, we called the venue, we called the DJ. DJ's like, "Oh, I'm still showing up, and no one told me anything," right? And we talked to the caterers. They're like, yeah, just the groom and his friends are coming over for dinner, I guess, right? So we literally collected the last payment 24 hours prior. 24 hours prior, we got the last payment. Okay.
What happened in 24 hours? That's crazy.
So everyone's getting paid. Okay. I suspect that she was still overseas. She couldn't get back. Her visa couldn't get approved or whatever. Because my understanding is the week before the wedding, she went back to China to grab her parents and kind of just bring them along because maybe they don't speak English or whatever. So she was going to bring them back, but I guess something happened. They couldn't bring them over and stuff. So now she's staying in China, right? But why?
Wow.
My thinking is, why would you wait to the last 2 weeks? Just have them come over for the month of. You know what I mean? Cutting a little close.
There's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of things that could have been done.
It's kind of a little close. But in any case, so our photographer, did we show up? No, we didn't show up. We didn't show up. Well, actually, yeah, we didn't show up because we got confirmation that it wasn't happening, and we got confirmation from the venue it wasn't happening. So.
And they didn't ask to reschedule?
Mm-mm.
Did they break up? They didn't break up. They just were like, we're just not having this wedding.
I don't know. I have no idea. We didn't. Fascinating, exactly, right? But that was probably the craziest wedding story, like legal stuff. Like I was like,
yeah.
I was just waiting for them to come back to us at some point. Hey, where's our money? But they paid in full. In a situation like that, we don't know what to do. But at least whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
So let's continue on with my spicy questions, right? So, all right. So you work with a lot of creatives, right?
Yes.
And creatives, they're more left-brained, right? And I imagine well, actually, you might be a little bit of both, right? Left brain.
I'm in the
right
middle.
brain.
I'm like smack in the middle.
Right? Like I'm a business educator too, right? So I can tell you for a fact that a lot of creatives, they're very left brained. They it's sometimes it's difficult to reason with them, right? So so when you're drafting these contracts for them, do you ever run into a situation where the creative is like, no, I need to do it this way, and then maybe they're not seeing it from a legal standpoint. They're creatives. They want to do things their way, right? So have you ever butt heads in that way with the contracting where you're just like, all right, whatever you want to do? Or is it like, hey, listen, if you want this contract to have my stamp of approval on it, this has to go this way?
In most situations, we've always been able to come to some kind of compromise on the contract. I think honestly, the biggest pushback I get on the contracts when they see the initial draft is they're like, this is so long. No client is ever going to sign this. It's going to scare people away. And my response is, in the for 2.5 years that I've been doing this for everybody, literally that has never happened. I always say when I was wedding planning, I had the scariest contract imaginable. And once somebody decided to work with me, they never went and got the contract. They were never like, oh, this is too scary. So I do try to educate that I think oh, this is so long, it's going to scare the client away is a myth. I try to give folks stuff that's going to work for them. If they want something a lot more plain language, I can streamline things a lot for them. If they prefer things in a particular format, I always want things to work for them and not cause friction. And so I do always say, I'm like, if you ever have somebody that says they're not going to sign this or there's a problem, I'm like, come back to me immediately and we will figure out a solution, because I never want to lose you a job. That is my thing. And so, and sometimes it ends up just being situations where you have to, I always talk about leverage. So if you're doing a job for somebody more in the corporate context, less in the wedding context, but if you are doing a job for Google or Disney or Apple or some big company, you're going to have to sign their version of the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably not a lot of room for negotiation. And so in that situation, the conversation goes, I review it. I tell my client, here are the potential areas for big liability for you. And you just have to decide, do you want to take that risk or not? So It's always a discussion. I like to be really practical because I appreciate you people as small business owners. I always want you to get the job. I want you to get paid. I want your business to grow. I want you to succeed. So I never want the legal side to hold you back from that. You just have to be aware of the risk that you're taking in different circumstances.
Yeah. And back to what you mentioned, Ben, I guess a question about part of the contract would be for us creatives that have a vision in the way they do things and having their creative freedom. I think that's a big portion of what they want included in their contract as well, is like, I have the creative freedom to do blah, 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 but then also being
Yeah.
able to manage client expectations and what the final deliverable is. So
Yep.
is there like a certain clause for that process? How does that look?
Yeah, it depends on what you do, but absolutely. Like a lot of the work that wedding professionals do is really subjective. I mean, even from a planner's perspective, like the planner makes recommendations, a planner makes decisions. Photographers have artistic license and videographers, like with how they're capturing the day. DJs and bands have like their own subjective opinions on what music is going to get people out on the dance floor. And so, yeah, I put provisions into like everybody's contract that essentially says like, hey, this is a subjective service. Your vendor is using their professional judgment on the day of to like try to get the best result for you. And you disagreeing with that outcome is not room for a claim under the contract or something like that.
Right.
Because I've seen plenty of times, and I do think these are situations where the client is not being forthcoming, but they're like, I hate my wedding photos, I want all my money back. And it's like, your wedding photos are beautiful, give me a break. Or they're like, my flowers didn't look anything like the mood board, and the flowers like were gorgeous. So we put that in there because we don't want to leave room for somebody to make that kind of statement.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I feel this. I feel this question so much, and everything you said so much. You know, because and I'll share with you a little background story, right? I mean, like I have a lot of clients that require some handholding, which is fine. I'm in the service industry. I'm happy to do it, right? So that being said, I had a client. Well, two clients. It's a little long time ago. One of them got mad that I didn't, photograph the cheese cubes during cocktail. It was not mentioned. It was not mentioned anywhere that I needed to shoot the cocktail food, but she was angry about that. And then she was also angry that the groom's top button out of his tux was not buttoned up for family pictures and stuff. Kind of minor, right? But she was just livid. Or I don't know what the end game was. Actually, I know what the end game was. She wanted some money back. I offered to reshoot the portrait. I was like, you're that unhappy about the portraits? I'll reach out to the venue. I'll take care of your dry cleaning. I'll pay for it. I'll call your florist. I'll get your bouquet redone, and we'll go reshoot your portraits. You're that unhappy. I think part of the reason why she was unhappy in the first place was because she did plan a winter wedding. Nobody wanted to go outside for photos and stuff. So there was less photos than would be normal for for a wedding, because nobody wanted to go outside for photos. Anyway, long story short, I was like, you know what? I was willing to pay the florist and the dry cleaner and maybe a little bit of space rental just to take care of this problem, right? But you didn't want that solution. So I'll just, whatever I was going to spend for that, you can have that and sign this NDA and then we're done. So the reason why I did it this way was because even though in my contract I have, like what you mentioned earlier, a creative license clause, right? I can shoot however I want to shoot as long as I'm doing everything in a professional manner. Her photos were gorgeous, by the way. Okay. And the thing was, the fact that she would pick out these things to be upset about, I think that if I were to prolong this, I think we could have gone to court. I would have been okay, protected with that clause. But I think as a business owner, the right thing to do, I don't know if did you think I was being a little too generous with how I resolved
No,
this?
you are teeing me up so perfectly because one of the things I always do, like one of my talks I give, I talk about the business decision versus the legal decision.
Right.
And you are illustrating that perfectly. And
Mm-hmm.
so the idea is that like we always want your contract to be most protective of you so that if you have to rely on it, like you said, if I went to court, I'd probably be fine. That's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, is that going to help you like make a clean break with somebody? Is that going to be the best in the best interest of your business's reputation? If you don't do something, is it going to be a negative review? Let's also weigh the cost of like hiring an attorney to try to like send angry letters back and forth versus just trying to make it right in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
So like I fully support what you did in that situation.
Yeah, so I consulted with some legal friends, some lawyer friends. Like, all right, guys. No, this also predates ChatGPT. This predates ChatGPT, and And he told me exactly what you just shared. He's like, listen, just because what is legally correct doesn't mean it's the correct move for you.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Because a lot of people have provisions, and this for me is a little comical when I see this, right? There's a not a non-compete, but an exclusivity clause. There's an exclusivity clause. It's like, hey, listen, I'm the only wedding photographer there on site. If there's another photographer who shows up, I'm out of here, right? Really? So if grandma has a camera, you're gonna throw a hissy fit and then like leave, right? You
I
know,
love when I know clients read the contract because on the wedding day they'll be like, "Hey, my uncle has this camera. I know your contract said they can't do that." I'm like, "It's totally fine. I'm glad you read
You
it,
better
but
stay out of my way.
it's totally fine. It's okay. It's
yeah.
just to prevent like a whole other team showing up from another company that you're
Right. Or
battling
yeah.
out
Or
with.
Yeah,
Or
he's like, if you're not going to leave, then basically your contract has no teeth, right? So basically, you're not going to enforce it. What's the point of having it in the contract if you're not going to enforce it, right?
Yeah,
Well,
but
that's
in
what he.
certain situations you might. Like if you've got if you've got somebody who's got a content creator and then they have somebody with professional who shows up with like full-blown professional equipment, like you might want to be able to do something in that situation. I mean, this is also the perfect example as we were talking about reschedulings and cancellations. Like let's say there was a cancellation because like one of the people who was getting married passed away. Like I see in many situations, I see a world where people are definitely probably not collecting that final payment and also potentially giving the money back. Like you have to there's human decisions to be made in all of this. But like I said, we always want your contract to protect you the most, and then you have the discretion to enforce it and do what feels right for you and your business.
Melinas, I have a story to share with you. I don't think I've ever shared this with you before. Actually, I don't think I've ever shared this publicly before. So I had a couple. This is early on in my career. I had a couple. I think they met within 2 months. They were engaged, and then they were getting married, and the wedding was less than 6 months away. Roller coaster of a relationship, right? It was about a week before the wedding, a week or 2 weeks before the wedding. I believe I was paid in full. Right? I was paid in full. And I think about a week or 2 weeks before the wedding, they said that they wanted to, they were breaking up 2 weeks before the wedding. And they wanted to get some money back or whatever. I was like, well, I need to call the couple to confirm all this. This is the mom communicating with me, the couple, because she's paying for everything, right? That's another thing we need to talk about, right? So the mom was like, yeah, the couple broke up. Can we get some money back and stuff? I was like, well, I got to talk to the couple to make sure that they did indeed break up, and then we'll see what options we have. And she's like, don't call them. Anyway, I think within 24 hours, it's like, oh my gosh, my son passed away. Basically, he took his own life. About a week before the wedding. So I guess the breakup was really hard on him or whatnot. So anyway, I returned everything minus the retainer because I still blocked off the date. I didn't, granted I didn't shoot the wedding, but I did shoot an engagement session. I did, do all these other things for them.
I didn't know it was the right move.
I chauffeured them around all over town. To me, till this day, I feel like maybe I should have given a little bit more back, but I did do a little bit of work, so maybe. I don't know. I feel a little sad about that sometimes. But what do you think?
No, I would have done the same.
I don't think there's no right way. I mean, there's no right answer. Like, some people probably would have given everything back. Some people would just kept the retainer. I feel like.
Would you have kept the whole thing 2 weeks out?
No, of course not.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I feel like that was more than fair.
Yeah, I didn't charge that much back then too. I think it was around 3,000 at the time. So I was. The retainer was maybe $1,000 or something like that.
I mean, I guess you could have kept everything. It's one of those situations where some vendors will be like, well, whatever happened in their life is like not
my problem.
My problem, blah, 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 and I'm going to keep it. But then there's some people who have just kind of like a you just morally feel wrong, I guess, for keeping something. I don't know.
Have some compassion.
Yeah. So I mean, does it suck for our bottom line? Yes, but.
Gotta do the right thing.
I would feel better at the end of the day being like, yeah, this is what I can do for you. I'm sorry for what happened. And move on from that. Yeah, but that goes back to, we're going to talk about like who signs the contract?
Ooh, yes.
Parents?
Yes. Yes, go ahead, Leah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Rule of thumb is the people who are getting married need to be the ones that sign the contract. And ideally, it needs to be both of them. The reason for this is if a parent signs the contract, that parent is who you owe the services to at the end of the day. And that is the person who gets to be happy or unhappy with what you've done. It blurs lines in terms of like, who am I listening to? So yeah, rule of thumb is always have the client, the people getting married as the one signing the contract. My little asterisk disclaimer to that is always, if it is going to cost you the job, let the parent sign. Like, let the parent sign. Just know what that liability is coming along with it. Because I think, you know, maybe once in a blue moon, you'll have a parent who's like, well, I have to sign the contract or we're not doing business with you. And if that's the case, let the parent sign the contract. Just know that that is the person who you are legally bound to listen to at the end of the day.
Yeah. What about the clause? So we've had parents do, well, we only did it once or twice, where they're paying. So we just have like a clause saying like they're only liable for the financial portion, but all the client signs the rest of the contract.
We have a beneficiary addendum for
that's what it's
something
called,
like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I call it a third party payor addendum, which is a little bit more of a thing. But it's like that's a super easy way to give the parents something to sign while still having the people getting married be the client of the contract. Yeah,
I've gotten really
they
good.
Don't have to do that. Like if the parent pays, like to you, it doesn't really, frankly, matter where the money comes from. So you don't have to have them sign that. It's only if a parent's like, well, I need to sign something to feel like I'm a part of this process.
Basically, they were like, "Oh, I don't want you going after the kids." I'm like, I would never go after grown adults. First of all,
that was their
second
concern.
of all, I'm not going after them.
Like if there was any legal issues, they would want us to go after them and not.
Oh, that's an interesting.
Yeah, I was like,
oh, I've never heard that. I've never heard that rationale before.
I mean, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
They wanted full financial responsibility, and that we wouldn't go after the children.
Yeah, I would say a good half of my clients I'm dealing with parents. More than half, probably, right? But I've gotten pretty good at talking them off the ledge about wanting to sign the contracts themselves, and a lot of it is just what you just described. Hey, listen, you know, do you want me to keep? Do I have to listen to you guys or I listen to the kids?
Right.
You know, you want the kids to be happy? You know, like I only want to report to. I only want to report to like one party. I don't want to report to everyone in the kitchen. So,
and I've been told sometimes there are situations where like genuinely the kids, the couple's not really involved and it really is like the parent who's making the decisions and the wedding kind of is for the parent. And so like in that situation, they're like, I want to be your client because I'm the one making all the decisions and stuff. So like, if you have to know what you're getting into when that happens.
I read somewhere, it was on my feed this week, in the last 2 weeks, where this photographer was on the planner's list, right? And so the planner would just get jobs for this photographer. And the photographer never gets a chance to meet with these clients. And and this photographer is like, what's up? Can I just talk to the clients? It's like, no, your client is me, the planner. You don't get to meet the couple, all right? So I'm signing the contracts. I'm doing all this stuff, right? So can you help us navigate that?
Oh, the planner's sign. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, from the planner's perspective, I would never tell, like, if my client was the planner, don't ever sign. Like, no, you're not signing contracts with all of these vendors. I think that's a terrible idea. First of all, from a practical perspective, like, I mean, my brain is so about like just limiting liability because if you, the planner, are signing the contracts with the vendor and like the photographer doesn't show up, you're responsible to the couple. If the photographer who you've contracted doesn't show up, like that's just an unreasonable amount of liability. And I get it. Sometimes there's arguments of like, well, my clients are busy and they just want me to take care of everything. And in that situation, like get a credit card authorization on file and like have them electronically sign stuff. And then you can help try to facilitate payment. But yeah, I mean, that's a perfect example. I've had clients come to me with those situations. They're like, I have, this company, it's corporate stuff. And like the agency is the one who signs me for a brand shoot, but then the brand wants to be able to use the photos in a particular way, but you can't actually talk to the brand. And it's like, it's the same situation where you kind of have to decide, like, are you okay operating that
It's a little
way.
messy. I feel like it's a little messy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, it's also it's a different type of service if you
Yeah.
are just literally just showing up and taking photos and having no personal connection or interaction with the client. Like, you just kind of have to decide, are those weddings, is the price tag worth it
Worth it.
in that situation?
Yeah, that's like a whole new market.
Yeah, well, they're doing it to upsell as well.
Too, yeah.
So they're
Yeah, they're
paying
marking
the
up
comp.
your so you
Yeah.
gotta that's a whole other that's a whole other podcast topic with referral fees
Basically,
and
yeah.
charges and
Oh my
commissions and
gosh, we
things
could
like
talk about
that.
this forever. I know a lot of planners in the Caribbean. They do it that way as well. Basically, it's just a one-stop shop, and they get all the vendors for you, and they charge
Yeah.
whatever they charge. You don't know what these vendors are actually charging.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's photographers that are fine just
Yeah.
showing up, shooting a
If
wedding,
you're okay
and
with
walking
it,
away.
yeah.
For us, we
Right.
like
And
more
that,
personal
yeah,
business.
it's all, it really is all about like how you're okay
Mm-hmm.
doing business and what feels good to you and what you want to cultivate.
Yeah. Any other red flags in contracts, things that people should have?
I mean, there's lots of things. So we'll talk
Yeah.
about it. We'll talk about a big one. This is one that I've started adding to a lot of my clients' contracts, which is a required mediation provision. So before anybody can rush to threatening litigation or threatening to like drag somebody into court, you are required to use good faith efforts to meet with a third party mediator and try to settle the matter. And the
That's good.
reason I think this is so important is because, number one, it's going to take the temperature down on things, because if somebody knows they can't immediately like threaten to hire a lawyer and sue you, they can't bully you into giving money back. Because in a lot of those situations, and I've seen it, like, people have to weigh the risk of, well, if they do actually take me to court versus me knowing right now exactly how much they're asking for, and if I refund them, then we get a termination agreement signed and this goes away, versus the unknown of going to court. Like, in a lot of situations, somebody's going to be bullied and scared into giving money back when they don't really believe that they should. So it prevents that. And then also my hope, I mean, we talked about how terrible human beings can be sometimes. So my hope is that when they know that they have to go in front of a like neutral third party and like with a straight face make this argument that their wedding photos are terrible, that's going to make them think twice about doing it. It's going to like hopefully help keep that people a little bit more honest in terms of there actually being a real dispute under their contract.
Yeah. If we're doing this, we're going to Judge Judy, okay? I know she's going to side with me, all right? I'm very...
Steve Harvey.
Wait, does Steve Harvey do mediation? Like, does he have his own little judge show too?
He does. I don't have any idea what his qualifications are, like what the fine print is on that show, because to my knowledge, I don't think he has a lot.
He doesn't come out wearing a big robe, does he?
He might. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever been able to like bring myself to
That's
watch it.
But under that robe, he's wearing a baggy ass suit. That's what you know.
Yeah.
I have a question. So I always like to dissect these things. So let's say we do need a neutral party.
Yeah.
Where do we find one?
Oh, there's like nationwide sort of organizations that will provide mediators. You can also like you can like get like a lawyer from a law firm, like an unrelated law firm who's a mediator who can help you with that situation. So yeah, you want like a lawyer or, somebody who's like a licensed mediator.
Okay.
And then who finds that person, the client or you? Because then
they can find a mediator that's going to side with that.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, the hope is that you're finding, I mean, it needs to be neutral, so it can't be somebody who really has a connection with either. So it's just something that you can agree on.
Who pays for that in those instances?
You would share the costs of that.
Okay.
All right, it's good to know.
So then that would help kind of like push the client in the other direction of like not wanting to go through the hassle of searching for a mediator, paying for
Yeah, I
maybe.
mean, that's why, yeah. So I also, another provision I put in contracts is an attorney's fees provision, so that if we do find ourselves in litigation, whoever wins gets their attorney's fees paid for. So that's also, in some cases, a deterrent for somebody bringing something frivolous. What's interesting though, like, I've talked with other attorneys in other countries, this is a very uniquely American problem. So in other countries, there's not this ease in like bringing legal action like there is in the United States. Like, people just don't bring this kind of like frivolous stuff. I always say, like, if people are suing that like related to a wedding, they're trying to sue everybody just to see what sticks. And like, that doesn't happen in other places. So this is just a very uniquely American problem where everybody sue
Yeah,
everybody
we
and
have a
threaten
lot of unique
to
problems in
everybody.
America.
We
We have a
do.
lot of unique problems. But I
We
was told to
do.
be on my best behavior for this episode, so we will just keep it at that. Okay. Like we'll have to, yeah, we'll have to meet up in person so that way I can be a little bit
Yes.
more unhinged. Okay.
I know you're trying to get to the juice, Ben, but I have one more question.
No, I have some more spicy questions to ask.
Okay, so you go first.
So I got a couple here. So should photographers be using model release clauses for guests also and posting content heavy weddings online?
Great question.
Ah.
In a perfect world, yes. So because your clients, the people getting married, they cannot give permission on behalf of their guests to use a guest likeness. Once again, the lawyer asterisk disclaimer here is, I think, and it's something I've been wanting to research and haven't done yet because I don't have a whole lot of spare time to do this, but I wonder if there is any argument to be made that when somebody attends a wedding, that there's no expectation of like privacy related to that. So things like social media posts that might have a picture, like they might show up in somebody's social media post or something like that. Can somebody really claim that that was like a violation of like their privacy and using their likeness because they showed up at a wedding? Because there is that expectation, you show up at a wedding, you're going to be photographed. Like, if you're getting something published though and it has a guest photo in it, if you really want to be legally above board, you're going to want a model release for that person, because that's a whole separate sort of different kind of use, and it's for more like truly marketing, advertising, promotional purposes that they should be signing off on. So it gets a little complicated. Again, I always talk about legal best practices, and then somebody has to decide whether they want to take the risk. Because I know obviously it would be so administratively impossible to get
Model releases for
like
everyone.
model release from every guest. And so I know that's never going to happen. So it's kind of like, okay, well, what do you want to do with the photo? What's the risk that you're going to take? How important is it that it's this particular photo that gets used? Like, there's a lot of different questions
Do
there.
you know how when you walk into a building, it says, hey, listen, but, you know what it is? When you walk into the Ed Sullivan Theater, there's a big old sign before you go into the Colbert Show. It says, hey, listen, by virtue of you entering through these doors, you are giving us consent to video you and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It might be on TV or whatever, right? So I'm wondering if I can put such a disclaimer, like, let's say I get a black polo and I put a screen print on my back. Hey, listen, if you see this polo shirt, that means you're giving me consent to photograph you, and you might end up in a blog somewhere.
No, but I think you can. I mean, like, I think you can put that sign up at the front of at the entrance to a wedding. Like,
yeah, why not, right? Yeah,
the venue will put it up. I think it's using your discretion too. Like, I've become very cautious of what I post on social media, especially with things if there's pictures of children. I've stopped doing that as much as possible.
Inappropriate behavior.
Maybe, yeah, like it might be a really fun party shop, but that guest might think she looks sloppy or something. So I'm not gonna put it up. It's not that important to me.
I got a picture of two young adults hooking up underneath the reception table. It was disgusting. The flooring was just like, why, right? But in any case, I have that story to tell now. But the thing is, what am I going to do with that picture? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, what am I going to do with that picture? But
did you put it in the gallery?
Yeah. And you have, as photographers, to be flexible when the client says to you, like, "Hey, so and so doesn't want their picture up." Yes, you could keep it up to. I mean, actually, you can't legally, like you said, but just take it down.
Yeah, take it down.
That's always my thing. Is like, if somebody complains about something, And well, this comes up in the context because I get asked this question a lot too. So, what happens if your clients sign your contract with the full model release that says you can use photos of them from the wedding and then post wedding change their mind and come to you and are like, actually, no, I don't want you to use the photos? My question is always going to be like, are you really going to just so legally speaking, they cannot change their mind unless they are offering you something in return. So like they could pay you a fee to then have changed their mind, but like you've got to get some kind of consideration, like a mutual benefit in return. So they legally speaking can't just change their mind without giving you something. But I'm always just like, but if your client has said they don't want the photos shared, like are you really going to just like willfully share that and make your client knowingly very unhappy? Like that's
Right.
what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's one of those business decision versus legal decision, like you said.
Absolutely.
Well, there was one particular client we left those photos up, right? Because she said some really mean, unkind things about the photos, saying that they were super ugly and everything. But the thing was, when we put them up, all their friends said like, "Oh my God, this is the most gorgeous photo. This is beautiful." We needed to keep that thread open, right?
Interesting
So that
tactic.
way. So that way, there's proof that it's universally accepted that these photos are gorgeous, objectively gorgeous. Okay, so it's a thing was like, oh, you need to take down these images. I was like, no, because you're saying really mean things and you leave in these reviews. And when they left the review, they was just saying all these false things. And actually, in an effort, this was like 6 months after the wedding, right? 6 months or 9 months after the wedding, right? So you already got the photos for so long, almost a year now at this point. So I'm like, why are you posting the review now or whatever, right? But actually, so what she ended up doing was she changed the date of her date of services rendered, so that way the review would stay on the top of the pile. Does that make sense?
I know people that are doing that. I've had that happen to
Okay.
somebody else
So
too.
actually, I
That's
put in
crazy.
I put in a request. What is it called? An appeal with
Yep.
with the host. I was like, I don't know what she's talking about. I did not shoot them on this date. So how that process works is they have to produce the contract to show
Yeah.
that they got married on that date, and if it doesn't match, they can take the review off. So which is exactly what happened. The dates didn't match up, so they took the review down. She wrote this huge novel about how terrible everything was, but it wasn't. She was just, I don't know. She was
There's
just
a
not
lot.
happy.
I mean, like that's what I was saying. Like the people part of this is just so hard and it's so unpredictable. And like you're dealing with like the issues that go so far beyond just their wedding photos, and then you're at their mercy of like how of their emotional
Listen,
baggage.
here's the thing I
Yeah.
tell a lot of my students. Here's the
Mhm.
thing that I tell a lot of my students, right? If you, from a vendor's perspective, if you're kind, if you're generous, if you're doing all the right things, right? You're over serving them, you're gonna get a lot more grace on the back end. If God forbid, you miss your mark by a little bit, right? You're gonna get a lot more grace. Okay.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, on the client end of things, if you ask nicely, your vendors nicely, there's a lot of things that your vendors can do for you if you just ask nicely and you're not being a jerk about it. They can afford to be a little bit more generous. But if you're being a jerk about it, they're just going to go straight to the contract. Hey, listen, this is what you signed up for. This is what I'm going to deliver. You're not going to get one thing more. You know what I mean? So I think it goes both ways. Like just
Yeah.
going at it with the best intentions in mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Making a good faith effort into making sure that I'm doing right by you. That's all it is at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
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 Yeah. Should I be a lawyer too?
No, but I want to take you everywhere when I'm speaking so that I can be like, look at Ben, all of this stuff has happened to him and he backs me up on all of my points.
You know what? I'm no stranger. I'm no stranger. I am no stranger.
We joke that
Well,
Ben
for
doesn't see. We joke that Ben doesn't see red flags, or like the red flags will be like
He'll paint them
waving,
he'll paint them a different color.
and then he'll be like, "It's a
It's not
challenge
red flags.
accepted."
And
then
it's not because I'm greedy.
happen.
It's not because of dollar signs. It's not because I'm greedy or anything like that. For me, I'm always coming
like
at
the
it from
challenge.
a service.
Don't be like Ben.
Don't be like Ben. Don't serve your clients, right? Even if they look like they're a pain in the ass, right? But no, 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 no. The thing is, I'm legitimately like I'm very service oriented. You know, it's something that I've been doing since I was very little and stuff. So I'm okay dealing with difficult clients. You know, to other folks it might be difficult, but really they're just trying to solve a problem. That's all it is, and I'm there to help them solve a problem. And if it doesn't, as long as it doesn't cost me any dignity or more money than I need to spend, I'm okay with that. This is what I signed up for. You know, my wife and I, every chance that we get, we tell people, hey, listen, you know, yes, we're photographers, but at the end of the day, we're a service provider. Okay, no different than the roofer or the plumber or the paver. We're a service provider. We just want happy clients, and you know, some days are going to be harder than others. Sometimes some clients might be a little more challenging than others, but at the end of the day, they all want the same thing. You know.
Yeah. So essentially, was it like over the winter?
Yes.
I'm talking about the first photographer, a photographer in Pennsylvania. She's been on the news. You might have seen her or something, but she bailed on a bunch of clients, was not delivering images. She was not answering phone calls, emails, or when she would answer, had like a multitude of reasons of things why she was not delivering. Husband was dying in the hospital.
Car
not
accident.
true. Car accident. Her dog was sick and dying. Like any excuse that you can
Wait,
think
you
of.
said the husband was not actually dying in the hospital?
Correct.
Yeah. She used that as an excuse to multiple clients.
Yeah. And even on like wedding day, she wouldn't show up, or she would send an associate, or, you know, show up hours late and still have these same excuses and reasons that she's used multiple times. And then more recently, it was just that she was not delivering images. And then saying that she does have them, but then
Some hacker
got into her
server,
so she couldn't upload files. We, as photographers, know
I
better.
thought you were going to say like somebody hacked her and like found all the real stuff and spilled the.
Oh, no.
This was all lies. Okay, that was another excuse.
Yeah, that was another excuse. And then still hasn't delivered. Or she started delivering like raw photos to clients, and it would just be like 50 at a time, or some still have not gotten them. And it was that one I think was very intentional, because like even the news found her, you know, they found her in the car going into Whole Foods or whatever supermarket, and she was just like, no comment, or everyone's getting their stuff, and they still haven't gotten their stuff.
She was posting in our local group saying that everyone's gonna know the truth, everyone's, you know, is gonna take my side. And I commented, I was like, why are you even on here? You should be editing those photos,
Right.
trying to get, you know, these images to your clients. And she eventually, I think, deleted her page and everything. But
yeah,
it got real shady, where she was like trying to set up meetings for clients to meet with her husband to get a hard drive
At a Wawa's.
At Wawa, and people would go and try to get their images, and nobody would be there.
Yeah, or some bride was like, I'm not going to go meet your husband at 9 p.m. at night in a random parking lot to get a hard drive. So it was very shady. And that one, I think they're still to this day trying to get the photos. It's been like 5-6 months.
Yeah.
But the other instance that we're talking about more recently in New Jersey was another photographer who, for the past maybe
6 months,
6 months,
6 months to a year.
has been posting about how the industry is dying. No one's planning weddings anymore. The data across the country is that venues are closing. You know, don't be in the wedding industry anymore because such and such, you're going to fail. Your business is going to die. You're going to claim bankruptcy. And as he was posting, and we would talk as a group, and we would say, we're not experiencing that. Thank God. With our businesses, we're doing well, and we're pushing along and doing what we have to do. And you would try to say to him, you know, maybe try doing this in your business, and you might see things turn around for yourself. And I told him, I think he's projecting, like something's going wrong here with his business, and he's starting to put out the seeds of like why his business is failing and blaming it on all these outside factors. I said something is going on. And then I think like 3 weeks ago, everything was gone.
No, but prior to that, the last few stories that he was posting was he was constantly saying on his business page, don't be surprised if your vendors file for bankruptcy and keep your money. Mm-hmm. That's what he kept saying. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
He was saying that the FBI was after him, and then he was like, the police were after him and all that kind of stuff. They raided his home. I honestly don't think any of
It's
that
all
happened.
lies. Yeah, it's all lies.
and the guy's a class A jerk. Like, anytime he would be all he basically he's looking for validation. He's looking for an audience, and anyone who would just do a little bit of digging would understand why he's in his predicament, right? So, some of the folks like myself, we would give him some advice. Say, hey, listen, like what Jen said, hey, listen, if you did this, you might be in better shape if you tried this instead or whatever. It's like, no, no, no. I'm the Steve Jobs of marketing. I don't need your help, right?
Actual word.
Actual words. I'm the Steve Jobs of marketing, so I don't need your help. I know what I'm doing, right? And he would just delete comments that didn't align with his worldview and stuff. So he was just a hot mess express. And so why are we talking about him in a legal context, guys?
I think we're more concerned from a client perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like we see all these brides posting like, "Oh my God, I'm a victim. My money is gone. I will never get it back. How do I get this money?" Like, what happens to clients in that situation? And we're curious to know just because like he's like a mark on our industry, right? Like he's a bad mark on our industry of people that are not doing good. And I would want to know how that can be prevented for clients in the
Yeah,
future.
he took money 24 hours before declaring bankruptcy publicly.
Right.
So now he's
Yeah.
like, hey, listen, you guys can't change me for nothing now because I've declared bankruptcy and you guys can't change me for nothing now. And not only that, we called a lawyer that he said that who represents him and whatnot. And the lawyer's like, no, he didn't file bankruptcy yet.
Yeah.
I think you can look at it. Yeah, I mean, I think those are public records that you can like look up.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things wrapped into this
It's a twisted tale.
things though that comes to mind that I was just having a conversation with somebody about this the other day is how are there still like people that are very bad for the industry who don't do good work who are still getting hired, and I'm like, it's because I think sometimes it's a one-off thing and people have a bad experience and they are hesitant to share because they don't want to like ruin a small business or something like that, and so there's no repercussions or consequences when people aren't doing their jobs. It's like, how are people like, if people aren't talking about this, then everybody's going to get scammed and keep sending money. I think it's worth as an industry, like when we know something is going on, to make sure that we are at least, well, no, I take that back. I was going to say make sure we're at least talking about it, but then that can get you into trouble too. It's really hard. It's really
It
like
is.
it's really, really tricky. I will say event cancellation insurance protects couples from this happening though too. If a vendor like closes shop and runs away with your money, you can use your event cancellation policy for that as well. So just another reason why people should be getting event cancellation insurance, because yeah, there's really not much that you can do. That's why people have LLCs, is so that it's really easy to file for close up shop and file for bankruptcy and not have it be a hit to you personally as an individual. It's really terrible that people are
It's also pretty crappy that this person just couldn't fulfill those contracts. Like, you have no overhead. It's just you going out
And shooting.
and doing the job that they paid you for,
Yeah.
which is mind-boggling to me that this person would just like, I'm sorry.
Is there no
I'm not showing
legality
up.
in that? Like, you sign a contract, you're going to shoot my wedding on July 7th, whatever. I've paid you in full, but now you're not coming because you filed bankruptcy. Like, can you do that?
I mean, you could try. I mean, it's like it's breach of contract, like them saying like you can't, I don't think know that a court would order somebody to like
A
create. I
business
mean,
that's
it's like,
dissolved. If the business has dissolved, how can you compel that
right, there's
business?
no like, yeah, there's no business left theoretically. Yeah, so it just gets tricky that when they do, like, it's breach of contract, and if there's no assets to go after
Leah,
and no entity
Leah,
left.
you want to hear
Yeah.
something crazy? This is the second time he's pulled this stunt.
See, that's what I'm talking about people not talking about it publicly.
I can't name and shame, being like, I can't name and shame people. I'll tell
I
you.
will
Yeah.
I think with Reddit, I'm hopefully like with Reddit and how prominent, like Reddit has its pros and cons because I've seen people get ripped on Reddit for things that they did not deserve. But I think maybe now that people are using Reddit more, that is how people can do research, because I feel like people are being more honest there about experiences. Because like literally while we've been sitting here, I just simply Googled and the Reddit thread about this person popped up.
Oh, did you guys share the name?
did
Did
it?
you guys
No,
share
I
the
didn't
name?
say his
No,
name.
they didn't say the name. I was just able to Google it based on very vague information. And now I have seen like Facebook posts and Reddit threads about this person. So yeah, like people, I mean, it is like couples are having to do their due diligence. My friend, I'm friends with, I don't know if you know her, Adriana McDermott from Ava and the Bee. I was just doing, I shouted her out this morning for something else, and I'm shouting her out now because she put together a post recently on her Instagram that talks about how the wedding industry has a trust problem. And it's very true. And it stems from a whole host of things, of like from pricing transparency to vendors like this who are just giving people a bad rap, to even vendors that aren't this bad, but who just aren't doing their jobs very well. Like they're kind of phoning things in. And so, yeah, I feel like there's like a reckoning coming with the wedding industry in terms of how it's been operating and the players within it, and how this industry moves forward in a way that like actually elevates the industry and does better.
Yeah, and I think the onus too is on a lot of the clients too, because I know for the other instance that we had last year with the Art Factory closing down in Paterson, New Jersey, brides would say like there were reviews for years and years. Like the Google reviews are there. Like
That was neglect.
that was like a big
Neglect.
I think they're just like in a headspace of like, oh, you know, it'll be better for my day, and it's like my vision, and I love it, and then you book it, and then you're stuck in a situation again where it's years of neglect. I'm like, how wasn't this closed down years ago to prevent 40, 50 other brides from being screwed over?
It's also, some people are embarrassed to speak about what happened to them, and they, a lot of these vendors get away with what they do because no one wants to really like talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It takes one person to start the snowball.
I tried to start that snowball, and I got like skewered that week. Oh, it angered me so much. This character. It angered me so much. I wrote the first one. I went off the rails a little bit, right? And then I wrote a second one, a little bit more, a more temperate response. Like, hey, listen, because basically the first one I said, like, listen, I'm sorry that some of you guys are struggling right now, but like, if you're struggling right now, it was really directed at him. I was like, you're a terrible human being. You're so nasty and everything, and like a lot of these problems are self-inflicted. Basically, that's what I was saying. You got to take some accountability for how you run your business and how you run your life. So that didn't get a good reaction. I got skewered for that one, right? And then I followed it up with like, listen, like, yes, there are people who are struggling, just as there are people who are doing really well. One doesn't negate the other, okay? And if you're struggling in your business, there are a lot of things that you can do, right? But lashing out at clients that have nothing to do with this, lashing out at an industry that has nothing to do with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the right way forward, because basically you're giving up agency and control over your own business and your own life and how you want that to look for you in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'm only one beer in. You guys should listen to me when I'm 3 beers in.
But yeah,
Sorry.
that's the juicy story.
That's the
and
juice.
I guess the short answer is there's not much you can do.
Well, no, there is. Get insurance.
Get
insurance.
Yeah.
But it's too
Yeah.
late. After the fact, you can't do anything, right? After the fact.
No, but you get it. I
No,
mean,
you
like
can.
it's worth the upfront investment. I mean, it was a conversation I had with every planning client of mine. And in 2019, only one couple listened to me and they purchased event cancellation insurance December of
Wow.
2019. And when they called off their wedding, they got all of their money back within weeks. It was like
Nice.
super easy. So it's really, I mean, I think the other part too, with couples also getting general liability insurance, the fact that vendor contracts are so protective of the vendors, if a couple's got general liability insurance, that also makes the vendor contract easier to swallow, because yes, the client should be taking on more responsibility related to this event. And if something happens and they owe money to a vendor because a vendor got dragged into some silly lawsuit, like you make a claim under your like your event, your general liability policy, which you've already paid for, and reimburse for it. It's not like a vendor's insurance where if photography equipment is damaged by a guest and then you've got to make a claim to get it fixed, then your premium's going to go up or you're going to get dropped. Like, clients can buy these one-off policies that have no impact on them. It's a one-time expense, no impact on them in the future, and protects them so tremendously.
So let's end this episode on two fun questions, okay? I got two fun questions to ask you.
Great.
Don't worry, Melina's look so worried. Relax. First one's first. When you got your first planning gig, you did it on your own? Did you apprentice under anyone, or?
No, I just did it on my own.
You just did it on your own? Because I have in my notes here, you did it shortly after you experienced planning your own wedding, right? In
Yes.
2013 or 12 or something like that?
Yeah, my wedding was 2012, and then by 2013, I mean, I assisted an event designer on a couple of weddings so that I could see the behind the scenes before I did my first one. But yeah, I also took a course. I took a course because I'm a nerd, and so I took how to like be a wedding planning business, start a wedding planning business.
You can ask ChatGPT for that now for free. So
I know.
So how much did you charge for that first gig? We ask all of our guests that.
Oh, $500. And it was somebody, I think we were like a month or two out from the wedding. I got that gig because somebody who I met who was also helping this event designer, she had a friend who was getting married and she was doing the flowers for her, but she needed some extra help with the planning piece. And so I guess it was essentially like month of coordination. But it was at the rooftop of the Armory in Central Park, which they no longer do events there. It was like small, super cute and sweet. I like cried at the end because I was so happy that I found like what I thought was now my new calling. So yeah, it was lovely. It was actually a very positive, affirming first wedding.
$500, you can get 8 Moses cruises for that kind of money. So,
that's our ratio. Our friend, we go by what he charged.
We go by, yeah. And then my second question for you is, you've been in that wedding space for a very long time now, right? Over a decade.
Yep.
This is a 2-part question. Are there any trends that you secretly loved? And then were there any trends that you secretly hated and you just wish would die a very slow, painful death?
The ones that I secretly love, because I've been told that I don't know, some people think it's over. I still love balloons. I love balloon like arches and installations and stuff like that. And some people think that balloons are played out. I still love a good balloon.
Like a jumbo balloon, or just like a whole like the movie Up, like just like 100 balloons.
Ones where it's a bunch of balloons and it's like different colors and it's sculptural and it's like different sizes. Yeah.
Love it. I'm excited. Our wedding on Friday is at a camp in Pennsylvania, and it's just literally color. It's just all pink, yellows, rainbows, and like balloons. She's doing balloons.
But it seems to be on brand.
Wedding up your alley.
It seems to be on brand though, because your brand is all about color and vibrancy and all that kind of stuff. Yes. So that seems to be on brand. But what about a trend that like you're like, I'm not really feeling this. I'll do it because you're paying me to do this, but I don't really like this.
Well, it's funny because one of the questions I got was some couples would come to me and they'll be like, we don't really like a lot of color. Can you still plan our wedding? And I'm like, yes, of course. I can plan any kind of wedding regardless of what it looks like. So I mean, I think the ones that I didn't love were the ones that were like heavy on the greenery. I didn't love because it just felt like meh. It was like
there was a post that I saw on my feed. There was a post on my feed. It was like, why do all these luxury wedding photos look so green? And like, why? It's like, what is it about the green? The greenery that makes it a luxe wedding, and I put in a little snarky comment. That's because it comes with serif fonts. That's what makes it expensive, you know. You got these desaturated greens with a serif font. That's how you can charge 5 figures for a wedding, you know. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, Leah, so tell our guests how they can find you.
Yes, absolutely. So my website is Weinberg Legal. I am at the Leah Weinberg and at Weinberg Legal on Instagram. My firm currently serves clients in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Georgia, Florida, Illinois, Texas, and California. So if there's anybody listening in any of those states who need any legal help, please feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to chat.
Awesome.
Okay. So about the little snippet that I got from Wisconsin, you can't help me with that one. I didn't hear Wisconsin in that group.
You're gonna have to remove that clause.
Thank you so much, Leah.
Thank you
We
so
really
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Extremely helpful, and I've learned a lot.
Yes.
Very much needed.
It's been a while since I think we've been in the game long enough, which is, I don't want to go back to the conversation, but update your contracts. Like, that's important.
Yeah.
We've all been in this really long
Get
time.
a real lawyer to go over it.
Oh,
Don't,
yeah.
don't
I mean,
chat GPT to do it.
Don't
something-
chat GPT your contract.
Yeah, that's something
Please.
that we've always have told photographers that are new in the industry, because we paid an attorney to do our contract early in our business, and it was, at first we were like, oh, why can't we just buy one template and just use that? And I think we did, and then we hired someone, and it was the best investment that we made.
Yeah.
It's
Thank you.
deductible. Just get it done. It's not terribly
This is true.
expensive.
Yeah,
you know?
it's really not. Also,
Yeah.
I'm particularly fast, so like I'm not as expensive as other people are. So.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Love it.
definitely go check her out. All right. So anyway, guys, if you would like to check out our bloopers, highlights, I don't think we had too many bloopers today, but if you'd like to check some of that stuff out, you can follow us on Instagram at focus.af. The website's working, by the way, guys. I finally fixed it.
Oh, nice.
Yay. And I saw you put new pictures. Love it. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Right. So you can check us out on our website at focus-af.com. There's, I mean, you can visit if you want. There's really nothing interesting going on over there, but I fixed it. It works. So you guys can go there and browse around if you want. And you can also download this episode anywhere you listen to your podcasts, Spotify, Apple. Actually, I'm also on YouTube.
So to find us on YouTube is the Focus AF podcast. Very simple.
And you can be our 8th subscriber.
There's 38.
Oh, there's 38. We're moving on up.
You know what it is? It's from us going viral on Instagram this past 2 weeks, because I'm very controversial. Clearly, Leah, I'm a very controversial figure in our
A
marketplace.
lot of issues.
But I would love to. I mean, I didn't realize you were local, but we would love to break bread with you if we ever
absolutely.
can cross paths in real life. So anyway, thank you.
The next time you're in JFK.
Leah drive you home.
Leah can drive me home. Yeah, I'll meet you in Far Rockaway. That's where my subway's driving me off, right? So thank you, Leah, so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
On that note, are you guys focused AF?
I am. Yeah.
All
We have
right.
game 4. We have to
I
be
was
gonna
focused.
say,
We
let's
have
go
to, right.
Knicks.
Let's
Let's
go
go.
Knicks. All right, guys. Adios.
All right. Thank
Adios.
you.
Focused AF is a fun, business-focused podcast for wedding creatives.
Co-hosted by award-winning husband and wife wedding photography teams Ben and Karis.
And Jenn Ro, where we help fellow wedding creatives with their sales and marketing.
With laid-back conversations and real talk with some of our most favorite people in the universe.
And with that being said, are you focused AF?
I am Focused AF today.
We are Focused AF.
I think I might be Focused AF.
Welcome to the Focused AF podcast.